Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our very first Lead Talk from Concordia University Online. My name is Suzanne Siegle, and I am the Campus Dean of the Business School at Concordia University, Ann Arbor, and I'm so excited to have you with us. Thank you for joining us, and we're going to be talking about strengths-based leadership and the StrengthsFinder's assessment. So what is strengths-based leadership? Well, this was a culmination about a decade ago of Gallup doing a 30-year research project. Can you imagine that? 30 years of research? I mean, think about people doing thesis or dissertation to do that for 30 years, right? That's crazy. They studied 1 million high-functioning teams. They went into work. So they identified 34 signature themes or talents that people had in organizations and leaders possessed, and they looked at how those worked to move companies forward and create workforce satisfaction. They developed what's called the StrengthsFinder's assessment, and stay with us because at the end you'll have a chance, if you follow the link on the website, to win a free StrengthsFinder's code so you too can take the assessment and learn what your 5 emerging themes and talents are. So this assessment looks at those 34 traits, and you go through a series of questions, and at the end you come away with what your 5 signature talents are. Now, this doesn't mean you don't have other talents and traits on the list, but these are those reoccurring thoughts and patterns of behavior that you find yourself naturally going to, that you know you feel strong when you're doing. And there are things like learner, arranger, empathy, harmony, strategic, futuristic. And when you read the definitions, you'll say, wow, this sounds like me, or oh, this sounds like my sister. No wonder she's like that, right? It's an exciting assessment to take because it really looks at you from the inside out. And they identified that when teams are comprised of complementary strengths-based leadership traits, they function very well. And when leaders are aware of their own strengths and weaknesses, they do even better leading the teams. But why was this research so revolutionary? Because many times in leadership and in business, we don't always nurture and focus on our strengths. We think, well, we're strong in an area, let's not worry about that. We better grow in our areas of weakness. But Gallup said no. Contrary to what we might think, we do not grow in our areas of greatest weakness, we grow in our areas of greatest strength. And this makes sense when we think about the athletic sport world, right? We see athletes out there that might be really good at the free throw line, or maybe not so good, like Shaquille O'Neal, and they're better in the paint. So they play to their strengths so that they can volunteer those strengths for the team. And the other thing that they found in this research is as we get older, as we grow, our personalities, our fundamental traits, those 5 emerging themes, don't really change. We actually become more of who we really are. So then it makes sense that if we nurture that, and if we nurture those talents, we will become even stronger for the team. So this is the conclusion of the research. And when it first came out, people were kind of stunned. They said, wait a second, how does this work? What happens if you don't have people to do some of the tasks that you need? And they said, but that's okay, because leaders will know that. Leaders will build diverse teams. They're not afraid to have people on their team that have different strengths than they do and complement their weaknesses. And that's part of strengths-based leadership. The other thing that's really cool about this is it looks at what's right about people. It looks at what their strengths are and what their natural patterns of behavior are, and it focuses on those, and it doesn't worry about the weaknesses. Now, one of the challenges to strengths-based leadership is what do you do if you have a team or you have a job where you need to get through a certain weak part of the area, right? I mean, that's a common thing in any team. Well, strengths-based leadership identifies where you're strongest and how to then overlay that so you can manage and navigate around your weakness. It really challenges leaders to look at themselves first. You know, there's an old adage that we shouldn't be governing others until we can first govern ourselves. And part of that is knowing who we are as people and where our strengths lie. And the last thing they found in this research that was extraordinary was what is it that people really need from leaders to be successful? Well, the first thing they need is trust. You have to build trust with your followership, and that means taking a genuine interest in people and really wanting and desiring to nurture their strengths. You have to be willing to say to them, how can I help you push your job more to your strengths, and how can I help manage around your weaknesses? So it really takes a person-focused approach to work, not a process approach. The second is hope. Does the leader embody hope for the future of the organization? Is he or she excited about his strengths and how he can bring those to the team? Do they love what they do, and do they convey that? The third was compassion. Is the leader compassionate to the followers? Does he or she understand the struggles that people can go through? And when you know your own strengths and you know the strengths of your team, it's a lot easier to be compassionate because you know yourself better and you know how to relate to others. And the fourth was stability, consistency. Do you know what to expect from your leader day in and day out? That is so important. And so when they did this study and they looked at these teams, they came away and they said, wow, we found things that we didn't think we did when we went in, and that this really works. So does it really work? Well, yes, I can tell you, I've taken the assessment myself. Now, I will share this with you. When I took it at first, I took it about, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I wasn't really focused when I took it. I think I had Bravo TV on in the background, and I was doing my nails, and I thought, okay, I can just take this. It's no big deal. But then I realized when I got the results, and also when I was taking it, I think I answered the questions the way I thought I wanted the answers to come out, right? I said, well, this one's really me, but I better answer it this way so I show up smarter. So when I got the results, I looked at them and I'm like, this isn't me. This doesn't work. This doesn't even sound like me. So I waited about a month, and it really gnawed at me because I was reading all this about strengths-based leadership and I was seeing it work, and I thought I better take this again. So I did. And this time I was focused. I turned my phone off, I turned the TV off, and I answered the questions authentically the way I really felt. And not only did I get the results that I really wanted, but I got results that made sense to me. They actually resonated with me, and I call it the Wonder Years phenomenon. If you remember Fred Savage from the Wonder Years, he had this voice in his head kind of talking to him the whole day. It was as if somebody had been following me around my whole life, writing, you think like this, you tend to look this way. So for example, one of the strengths I had was futuristic, which makes sense that I'm always worried a little bit and thinking about the future. And some people think, well, what are you doing? Why are you worried about that? Don't worry about that. Everything's going well right now. So it was really interesting and insightful to me to see what strengths I had for the team. Well, this is so exciting to be talking with all of you about this. Thank you so much for joining, and we're going to have questions at the end, but I just wanted to tell you that this is so awesome, and I'm excited that we actually have a chance for you to win a code to take the StrengthsFinder's assessment. So definitely stay with us because you're going to love this. This is life-changing stuff. It will change the way you think about yourself. It'll change the way you relate to your family and friends and to your coworkers. And once you know your strengths, it's almost impossible not to want to work in them and push toward them. So imagine this conversation with your boss or your supervisor at the end of your work year, or you're doing your review. And you say, you know what, boss? Let me share with you how I use my strengths to help the team. And let me share with you some of my weaknesses and how I'm managing around those. But can you help me move those off my plate? Because if I focus on my strengths, I think I can produce better results. Could you even imagine having that conversation with your supervisor? That would be incredible. That's what strengths-based leadership does. And Concordia University, our mission is to prepare men and women in mind, body, and spirit for service to the church and to the world. And this is part of that. We look at the whole person, and this does that. Strengths-based leadership looks at what's right about people, and they look at the whole person. So I'm excited that we're here. Thank you so much. And remember, please, if you look at the website, it's very important that you stay with us so you can enter to win a code. Definitely enter your information. And if you win this code and take the assessment, we would love to hear from you and let us know, what were your strengths? Did this make sense to you? Does it sound like you? What did you learn from it? And are you willing to take this into your workplace? A lot of workplaces do this. The first thing they do is they sit down and they have their team take the assessment and they share it so that people know who they can go to, who on the team, whose shoulders are broadest to be able to help if they have a problem or if they have a task that they need to do. So this is so exciting. I'm so excited to be here. This is our very first Lead Talk, and I think it's awesome that we're doing it on strengths-based leadership. It really helps us get looking at what is right about people, what's good about them, and what their strengths are. Now, can strengths change over time? Yeah, but generally you're going to have those 5 emerging talents and themes your whole life, and you have to think about what it is that makes you strong. And nobody can tell you no. I mean, if you say, boy, this activity really makes me strong. I love checking things off lists. I like making calendars and organizing. Then that would be great to volunteer that to your team. So again, I would definitely encourage you to stay with us at the end of this and follow that link on the website, and we can definitely have you win a StrengthsFinder quiz. Now, if we have any questions? All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us at the Lead Talk.